One of the most surprising aspects about this new brush is that you would think you'd have a whole bunch of hairs when you paint a stroke. Let me show you something very, very interesting. I'll move this guy over a little bit and I'll paint the stroke with my brush. Now, you would suspect that this is made up of tons and tons of different lines. If I go to the View menu and take a look at the outline, we have just a simple stroke, which is quite remarkable. This means that you can paint quite a few strokes and not really tax your computer too much. Although, when you're about to print, you might have some problems, so try to flatten the image when possible to reduce those errors. Okay, so as you can see here, we have a ton of brushes to choose from. And what I want to do is show you how you can get your own brush in this menu. Alright, so let's take a look at how to do that. Let's go and create a brand new brush once again. I'm going to go to my brushes menu. Actually, let me go back to my essentials so we can all stay on the same page. Go to brushes, and I'm going to tear this off so we can start from scratch. And I'm going to click on this guy here to create a new brush. So we're going to create a brand new bristle brush, and we'll call it Bristle Brush Test, or whatever you like to call it. And then we'll modify it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to give this guy a mohawk, so I'm going to make the length of the bristle short. I want a lot of density. I want some thickness in there. I'm going to drop the opacity down so I can make quite a few strokes. And I want them to be quite rigid. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And then you'll notice that my brush is now up here. So how do we know what brush is ours? Well, if you hold your mouse over the brush, you'll see the name of it. And it also lives here. Now, sometimes when you're working with menus like this, and you're looking at things like this, it's very difficult to tell what's what. So what you could do is go to the menu, and you can choose to go to a list view. And now we can see more clearly the brushes that we create. And I highly suggest at first that you use this method when you're experimenting with brushes, so you can always find your favorites very, very quickly. And you'll notice that what I do here happens here as well in the actual brushes panel. So now that we have our brush, I'm going to go ahead and change the stroke color to something kind of fun, like a purple. I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to give this guy a mohawk. And the bristle brush, by the way, does indeed work with the new draw modes. So if you want to draw inside your artwork or you want to draw on top of it, that's up to you, but it will work. So let's go ahead and start off by giving this guy a little bit of a mohawk by painting in the hair. And as you can see here, they overlap very nicely. I'm trying to just modify the strokes. And of course, you don't ever just want to use one brush. So I'm going to go to an angle brush this time and add a little bit more thickness. Okay, we'll choose a fan, and we can really fan that out real nice. And we can scroll and look at all the different brushes that we have, and we can experiment with them and see what we can get. Now let's add a little bit of highlights and shadows. So I'm going to go to that purple stroke here, and I'll double click on the swatch. I'm going to make this a little lighter. I'm going to add some highlights. And then by the roots, I'm going to go back up here again, and I'm going to make a darker color. So I'm going to go to a purple or dark blue. I'm going to paint in some of that color in the back so that we have a little bit of distance. So these dark hairs are way back here somewhere. And we also have some color down here for some shadows. What you can also do to make it even more realistic is you can drop your opacity down in your brush and give it a shadow layer. So you can create some of these hairs on a different layer altogether. So let me go ahead and just play around just a little bit more, and I'll zoom out. And now we have a mammoth who has a really cool Mr. T-like mohawk. And he says he pities the fool. He pities the fool.